the anger has to be expressed because there are some things that just don't make any sense anymore. Don't make any sense. And some people are really hurting. This COVID thing, wait a minute, you told us that we couldn't go out, that nothing. I have a friend who is ready for a kidney transplant. And just before COVID, they found out that in one of his kidneys was a tumor. And so they had to take that out, and it was a cancerous tumor. They had to take that out, and if it spread out of his kidneys, he would die because he wouldn't be able to take any kind of chemotherapy with bad kidneys. He was told because of COVID that was an elective operation. That was no, plastic surgery is elective. So he just had his surgery just a few days ago and just found out that it didn't spread, thank God. But now he's got to wait for his kidneys. This should have been done 2 months ago. He could have died. He spent all of this time, the whole time of COVID, thinking, I'm going to die. It's going to spread past my kidneys, and I'm not going to be able to get kidneys. I'm dead. How many people went through this? How many people, as we're watching George Floyd's funeral today, as we're watching this, and Nancy Pelosi is sitting in the third row or second row, and she's not wearing a mask. I ask myself, do any of these people actually believe anything? How many people couldn't have funerals for their loved ones, couldn't be with their loved ones when they died, but we're doing it now? Why? Did you know that scientists and medical officials have come out this week and said, yes, COVID is a disease, and we've been battling COVID, but the battle against racism has been going on for far too long. And it's a bigger battle. And so if you have to not social distance, are you kidding me? You destroyed our economy. 20% unemployment. We had the lowest to 20%. Boy, this is all starting to feel like it was a setup, doesn't it? Leon Wolf is the editor of The Blaze, theblaze.com. And Leon posted a Twitter thread that I just want to read to you because I think there's a ton of people that feel this way. I woke up today really angry, and I have some things I got to get off my chest. I've been withdrawing from Twitter lately because of the toxicity of this place. It's not good for me or probably the country, but it's time to say some things regardless of how people react. At the start, let me note that I have been writing online about police brutality, lack of police accountability, and racial injustice for over 15 years to a mostly unreceptive and sometimes hostile audience. So I didn't wake up last week to discover these things existed. So while I condemn the looting, violence, and arson happening right now, I'm fully on board with the message of the people who are peacefully protesting, and I have been for a long time, just so we're on the same page. That having been said, I'm really pissed off at apparently the life and death need to destroy this country was apparently not so life and death. The people who told us and scolded us, including public health experts, who told us there was literally no reason that would justify ignoring them or violating social distancing's rules, suddenly find that literally no reason means unless it's a reason that's societally important. They're not saying this figuratively, but literally. Dozens, this is according to NPR, dozens of public health officials and disease experts have now signed an open letter in support of the nationwide anti-racism protests. White supremacy is a lethal public health issue that predates and contributes to COVID-19. And contributes to COVID-19. So having established that, I think the fight for the police reform is really important. But I have to ask, Was it not important to prevent tens of thousands of predicted deaths of suicide due to the psychological effects of the lockdown and ensuing depression? Was it not important that people, especially small business owners and employees, are able to feed their families? Is it not important that, black people have jobs? Black unemployment black employment was at historic highs in March. Now less than half of black people are employed. I'll tell you one reason I'm especially raw today. One of my closest, dearest friends died last week. I'm going to his funeral today. Thank God it's being held in Arkansas. Otherwise, it couldn't even exist. Well, unless you're George Floyd. He'll be listed on the statistics as a COVID death because he caught COVID literally while locked down in a high-risk area of the hospital. But what killed him were complications for underlying health conditions that had him hospitalized since late March. For the last 8 weeks of his life, he lived totally alone. Even after he had already caught COVID, he was not allowed in-person human contact from his friends or family, even if we signed a waiver and promised not to leave the hospital until we ourselves cleared quarantine. I'm really mad that my friend had to die feeling not only that his body give up on him, but probably also the worst loneliness and isolation he had ever known in his entire life. And I'm mad for all the families of the people who are not allowed to say goodbye to loved ones, or even mourn, or say goodbye at burials, because it seems to me that this crap is pretty darn important to maintaining who we are as human beings. How many people sat there and suffered the same indignity silently because they were told there was no choice? I'll tell you what conclusion I draw from the lack of how do you pronounce this? Tisking. The condemnation of these current protesters. Yes, even the peaceful ones. That they're going to kill grandma with their activities. Why isn't anyone saying that? It's the only conclusion that can be drawn. The conclusion that they didn't really believe what they were saying all along. Because an infectious disease does not care about the reason you're gathering or how important it is. It has no social conscience or conscience of any kind, which leads me to believe that they were doing it because of politics or desire to control or whatever, I don't really know. But most definitely not because they actually believed we would all die. So much loss, so much damage, so much grief for nothing. God, I hope people are held accountable for this somehow. I have to tell you, it doesn't matter anymore if any of this was real. Because I don't think you can contain the conspiracy theories that will go on now forever. And those conspiracy theories may be right. I think there's a growing body of evidence. I mean, let me give you this story about Maxine Waters here. This Maxine Waters story where she's saying a protest is an insurrection. A protest is an insurrection. You know, that's an amazing thing to say. She says, rational political expressions of dissatisfaction and rebellion. It's extremely clear. There are people that would like me to say, go inside, be peaceful, that they have to accept the verdict of, she was talking about the Rodney King trial. It's the language of rioting that I refuse to give up on, referring to the protest of 92 as an insurrection. And she calls the new ones an insurrection as well. She said, I had a long talk with my grandson who's very politically aware and pays attention, even though he's in the entertainment industry. And what's different about this moment from that moment? He said, look, Grandma, Would you agree that people have been cooped up because of social distancing, isolation, have been being quarantined for a couple of months, plus 40 million people unemployed? You have seniors graduating from high school that don't know what they're going to do, whether there's going to be college next year, whether there's even going to be a job. Most know there's not going to be a job. You've got poor people who don't know where their next meal is coming from and looking to the government and wondering whether or not they're going to get more money in a stimulus plan. That's what's happening here. Now, wait a minute. Hang on just a second. So you're now saying, Maxine Waters, that it's okay for these rioters to go out and riot in the streets. It wasn't when people had a chance a couple of weeks into it to be able to open up their businesses again. And when they said, hey, I'm not getting any help from the government, you said you cannot let those people out. Those people are dangerous. But now that a group of, well, to use your words, insurrectionists, now that they're out on the street, you support them. And you say, wouldn't you agree people have been cooped up because of social distancing, isolation, and been quarantined for a couple of months? Well, that's what you did, Maxine Waters. That's what you did. You did. You and the press. The president has been saying the whole time, leave it up to the states, leave it up to the states, leave it up to the states. You said that was irresponsible. 40 million people unemployed. Again, that's you. Seniors graduating from high school that don't know what they're going to do. We've been telling you there's no reason for schools to be closed, but you keep saying there is a reason. In fact, our schools, our colleges are supposed to be closed in the fall. For what? For what? You know, I looked up insurrection in the dictionary. Now that Maxine Waters is saying that we should not call this a riot, this is an insurrection. Well, that's the Insurrection Act of 1807 that you said was so bad to employ. How am I misunderstanding the word insurrection? So I looked it up. It's a noun, insurrection. Violent uprising against an authority or government. So against an authority could be cops. Because I know a lot of people say we just have to disband the cops. That's a good idea. That's been done. So many societies and civilizations have had no prisons and no cops. I don't know why we invented this here in America. Okay, so a violent uprising against an authority or a government. Similar words, rebellion. Let's see, get the rebels of the South. That's right. That was the Civil War. Rebellion, revolt, uprising, mutiny, revolution. Stop me when you think I get to a good word. Insurgency, insurgents, sedition. There's a good one. Ooh, anarchy, a coup d'etat, or my personal favorite as a synonym for insurrection, a putsch, which is what Hitler went to jail for. The difference between rebellion and insurrection. A rebellion is unaccountable armed resistance to an established government or ruler, while insurrection is organized. Organized opposition to an authority, a mutiny, a rebellion. Oh, well, this is so good. No. It gets worse. If you'd care to go there, just open up your dictionary today.